Welcome back. I hope you're ready for the next part of our Trello project, which will be the hotel overview. So in this section, the new things you will learn are how to create an infinite animation and also how to use the power of Margin Auto together with Flexbox. And of course, you're going to continue using Flexbox properties for easy positioning and alignment of our elements. So the hotel overview is basically just this part here, where we get a quick overview about the name, the stars, the location, and then the average rating of the users. But before that, we also have these images here, okay? And so let's quickly start with that before we actually do the hotel overview. And that's just gonna take us like 5 minutes. So let's start with that. So right here in the hotel view, we are gonna add an element called the gallery. And then we have the 3 images, and I'm gonna wrap each of them in a figure element. Okay, so figure and gallery item. And then in there, we have the actual image called gallery photo. Now the images that I want here are called, I think, just hotel. Yeah, hotel 1. And then here simply photo of hotel 1, and that's it. So I'm actually wrapping these images here in a figure element so that you could later like add a fig caption element here, so to give these images a caption. But I'm not gonna do that right now, okay? You can maybe do it later if you feel like it. Okay, so hotel 1 becomes 2, and then this one is just the number 3. And here the same in the description. And that's actually it. So let's go to our components file here and style this. Now just this comment here. And the first thing that we want to format is actually the photo. So gallery photo, which is the image element. So remember that in responsive design, we always want flexible images. And so we always have to define a width or a height in percentages so that the image stays fluid. So let's set a width to 100% here. Okay. And then what we're going to do to put the figure elements side by side is once again to use Flexbox. Okay. So all we have to do is set the display to flex. And then all these figure elements should be side by side. Okay? And another thing here is that the image should be displayed as a block. Okay? And that's avoid having like a small space underneath an image, which happens when we leave it as an inline element. Okay? So an image should always be a block or an inline block if we don't want that white space. So let's check that out. And actually, first of all, we should get rid here of this orange background, right? But you see that the images are actually already perfectly aligned here, right? So first of all, let's get rid of that orange background. And where is it? Here. That's much nicer. So let's just inspect these figures. And you see that because of Flexbox, they are now side by side. So if there was no Flexbox here on the gallery, then this is what they would look like. So occupying 100% of the available width. Now we could also like set these items here or these images to a third, so like to 33.333%, and then use float on these figures here. So that would produce the same effect. And then we would have to use a clear fix on the parent. And all of that is a bunch of work. And so once again, we just use Flexbox in order to achieve the same result. So put these images side by side without any clear fix hack or anything like that. Okay, so that part is done. So let's now move on to the hotel overview itself. So there are 4 parts in here. First, we have this heading. Okay, so this will be our H1 element, meaning that it's like the main title of this document. Then we have the stars here. Then after that, the location on this side, and then the overall user rating. Okay, so let's mark that up in our HTML. And to this one, I'm going to call it the overview. Okay, and then our H1 that I was talking about. So overview heading. And this hotel is simply called Hotel Las Palmas. Maybe not the most creative name, but it serves our purpose here. Okay, so the next one is the stars. And so I'm simply going to put them in a container first. So overview stars. And then in there we put our 5 stars. So one SVG icon for each of them, right? Such as we did before with all the other icons. So let me actually copy that part instead of having to write it out all over again. And this one, let's see how it's called. It's probably just star. And yeah, you see it is. So icon star. And now we just need this 5 times. And so these are our 5 stars. So next up we have our location. So overview location. Now let's just take a quick look at that in the finished example. So you see that here we have this location icon and then this underlined text. And this here is actually what I call an inline button, because down here we have it again, okay? So it's this button here that we use up here in the location, and then down here for this show all button here again. And it actually has this nice effect that I was telling you about. So this infinite animation, which is this one. So when the button is focused, it will have this permanent and infinite pulsating animation here. Okay? But we're gonna leave that one for later. So for now, I just wanted to tell you that we have this icon and this button here. And then in the next one, we have this rating element here, and then this text, and then the number of votes down there. Okay? So we start with the icon here. Once again, I'm gonna get that from here. And it is called the location pin. So location pin, and then down here the button called button inline. And the location of this is in Albufeira. So in the sunny southern part of beautiful Portugal. Okay, so that is the location, and now finally the rating. Then we have the average, which was in our case 8.6, and the overview rating count. So 429 votes. And I'm putting votes because it's shorter than ratings, okay? So that's the only reason. All right, so we're now ready to take a look at it. And that already looks pretty nice. Now this is already formatted here with this gray color. And that's probably because when I copied it, it came with this wrong class name here, okay? So that's of course not what I want. And actually down here as well. So what I want here is really overview icon star, okay? And down here actually location. Okay, so these one here are the icon stars, and this here is the icon location. All right, and so now they look huge, of course, because they're still completely unformatted. So in order to be able to work with this, let's actually start by formatting these icons here. So a new component here. And let me copy this one here again. So writing all our selectors, we start with the heading. Then we have the stars. And we have the icon stars. And let's see what else we have. So we have location, icon location, rating, rating average, and rating count. Then we have the icon location, and we can probably group that together with the icon star. So icon location in here. Then we have the rating. And finally the rating count and rating average. Alright, so once again a lot of selectors here, but that's just how it works when you're coding up such a big and detailed interface, right? So let's give it here a width of 1.75 rem and of course the same height, such as we've been doing all the time. So 1.75 rem as well. And then the color, so we use fill again, setting it to the primary color. So color primary. So let's take a look. And so that looks much better. Next step is to put all of these 4 boxes side by side. And so that's really easy. Nothing new here. So we use Flexbox, of course. And Flexbox will do its magic. And so now it looks like this. All of these side by side. Now this is of course still not perfect. So let's fix that as well. And the first way that I want to do it is to, of course, use justify content, right? So let's use space between here so that it will evenly distribute all the space between all the elements along the main axis. And so that is the result that we get. Now the thing is that this is not quite what we have in our demo example, right? So this one here, this is not quite what we have. So we have the stars actually close to the heading and then the location close to the rating, and then a huge space in the middle of these two. And so therefore, justify content is not a good way of doing that, because it doesn't allow us to create a space only between 2 of the 4 elements, right? And so let's remove that. So I just wanted to show it to you why it doesn't work. And so the next thing that we can try is to use flex on, for example, the location, right? So what I mean is this. We can say flex to 1. And what this means is that this flex item should grow and occupy all the available space, right? Remember that? And this will actually be pretty close to what we want. So let me show that to you. So yeah, now it occupied all of this entire space here. And actually we probably would want that on the stars, okay? So that's how it would look like. And that is exactly what we have here in this demo, right? Now, in order to show you that this isn't really ideal, let me give this a background color. And so you will see that now this element here is occupying this entire space, just as we told it to do. So we told it to expand, to grow, and occupy all the space that is available. And that's what it did. Now this is not ideal, because this element should only be the size of its content, right? So in this case, the size of these stars. We don't want it to have all of this size. Imagine that we would have like a hover effect on this, and then all of this entire element here would be hovered and would change the background, for example. And that's not what we want. We only want that hypothetical hover effect to occur right here on this box where the stars actually are, right? So what we want is a way to create this space here without actually stretching out this entire element. And that is where the power of margin auto comes in. So let me show that to you. So we remove flex 1, and instead we can use margin right and set it to auto. And that's a very powerful trick in Flexbox, and that's what happens. So the same result, but with our element actually only occupying the space that it needs here, right? So this is the space that it needs, and so it's all it's occupied. And then all of this space here is the automatically calculated margin. So this is a great trick. You should probably write it down, because it's really helpful in Flexbox to use margin auto. Each time we have a situation like this, we want to create some space like this, we can use margin auto. We could also have used margin left auto on this element here. That would have created the exact same space. And so again, this is a very good trick to know and to use with Flexbox. Okay, so let's just get rid of that background color, of course. And so in terms of layout, we're getting pretty close to the original version. All we have to do now is to actually format each of these 4 smaller components here, okay? But I'm gonna leave that to the next video so that you can take a quick break. So see you in a second.